A very good morning to all my crypto and trading friends. Today, there's another detailed update video about the various coins, all the positions, and the trading bots. I've recently started a new trading bot and I'd be happy to share it with you as well. For example, I have it included here. The $51,000 trading bot was briefly a little in profit, then had a few additional buy orders, but was never really at a realized loss, and now it's back in profit. Now let's take a look. We will open a $200,000 trading bot live together using a voucher that I received. In the meantime, I already opened another one, but we will do this one together. But I want to do a live analysis with you regarding Ethereum. I actually haven't done that yet, so I'm really doing it in this video. But we'll also go through the other trade bots and see what I've achieved here. All the positions, which by now are pretty much all back in profit thanks to the pump that happened overnight. Now that I'm in Thailand, I finally have a good setup again. I can do a detailed analysis again with the mouse, proper lighting, and so on. And accordingly, I don't know yet how long the video will be exactly, but I recommend everyone to stick around because what I'm going to show you today is not just the simplest trading strategy as I'm using it now, how we go into a detailed analysis for possible further shorts, where I'll also secure my positions again, but also how I reopen my long position and at the same time generate 100% passive income on autopilot with the trade bot. Check this out on my channel. The very first video you'll find up here. It can only help you if you just want to earn a little something on the side. With the lowest possible risk, or let's put it this way, without any liquidation. Let's get started now with the trading bot. $200,000, that's what I said. And that's actually the case because this voucher for $10,000 that I received here was for a trading bot, which I had to start with $3,000 and let run for 24 hours. That's what I did. Then yesterday I wrote to Bitget again. I said, I'm still waiting. You forgot something. For the $10,000 and the $3,000 bot that I started, I still hadn't received my vouchers. And then they sent them to me right away. But these have to be opened with 20 times leverage. In this case, that's good for me because I can crank up the risk enormously, or well, the risk is just very high because of that. But I myself had never put an amount of $200,000 into a trading bot before. Wait a minute, for everyone who isn't on Bitget yet, you have the opportunity, link in the video description. Here you'll get a VIP1 trial pass, lower fees for a week, a spot grid trading bot, a $200 voucher, and a futures position boost voucher. That means your trading position in the futures section can be increased by $200. For example, you only need to put in $50 here, but you have the opportunity to open a trade with $250. And you should also check whether it's possible to apply for the Bitget credit card or, in this case, debit card. Because as soon as you become a VIP, you have the opportunity. And maybe it will work out to submit the application within these 2 weeks. That gives you an incredibly good opportunity right here. If you're already registered, maybe through my link, you can also use the link in the video description and simply click on Claim Voucher here. And then you also have the opportunity to use it for yourself. You don't have to register again. But now, back to the trading bot so we can open it quickly. You know me, I prefer to do it with Ethereum. I've had the best experience with Ethereum so far. But we'll also do the analysis later in the video. I actually forgot to activate the trading bot, so I'm editing this in right now. Here you can see a 20 times leverage bot with $10,000 used as margin, my own money. With 20 times leverage, that's $200,000. And we now have an estimated liquidation price for Bitcoin in this range. But I want to... Okay, unfortunately, the $10,000 does not work with Ethereum. I'll show you in a moment. I have an Ethereum position open at $3,000. No matter, we'll just go with Bitcoin. Because the Bitcoin price, which I'll show you later in the video, should not fall below $107,000. I'm activating it now and we'll see what happens next. You'll also see that I already have the Ethereum bot open below. This is the one here, 20 times voucher. And with my own margin of $3,000. That means overall, since this is a 20 times leverage bot, we also have a $60,000 trading bot here. It's really insane now what's actually being leveraged here. I also still have this $50,000 trading bot, which we'll get to later. But let's go back now and do the first analysis. Bitcoin. What currently looks really good with Bitcoin? At this 0.786 level. In the last video I mentioned that we had support here. But I also said that we have an incredible number of whale orders and a huge liquidation cluster at around $107,000 all coming together here. And that was actually the area I showed in the last video, or even before that this was down here in this region. But now you can see now that the price is here at the 0.786 Fibonacci level, which among other things was a scaling or entry point for Bitcoin for me for the long position. We have built up an incredible number of long orders exactly in this area, which is evident from this new huge cluster that can now be seen here. And now they've accumulated several billion again, if you add it all up, and that's why I'd still be cautious about an overly bullish scenario. We've pumped, everything's good. I'm also happy that we've pumped and that all positions are in profit. But we'll also take a look at the positions I still have open in a moment, but I'm still being cautious. What I do like about Bitcoin is that we've had a breakout above the 200 SMA and EMA, so no retest, at least as seen on the 1 hour chart, and now we've had a small retest. It would of course be ideal if we could hold that now and continue to rise. That would be really, really ideal. But if we look at it on the 4 hour chart, unfortunately we're still missing a little something. That means we could keep pumping further, but around the 0.5 Fibonacci level. So, the reverse for the long entry, there would be resistance again at the 200 SMA. We'll see whether we can break through that or not. Of course, it would be really ideal if we did. But if we now look at the chart neutrally, really neutrally, and I remove this here, we'll leave that, we still had that as a possible long entry, then we see that at this point in time, we actually have a bearish price structure, which is still intact, and now we're simply picking up this low with a new lower high, which is usually a liquidation move, and then it could continue to go down. But we'll take another look at this in the liquidation heat map on a smaller time frame in just a moment. For now, let's just stick briefly with this scenario, this possible short entry. Because according to my strategy, the way I always do it, if we look closely right now, let me remove this as well. If we were to take this short entry now, we'd enter directly at the 0.618, and here too, except for the wick above, we have the first rejection. Of course, we also have the option of the 0.786. It's always important here to pay attention to what the liquidation heat map is showing. In this case, you can look ahead 1 week, 3 days. It's very, very important to see where the liquidations are, where the price could still go, or where new, fresh, short liquidations might be coming in, just like in this case here. Because all of this only happened as of yesterday. So with this pump, where the market rose so much, you can see how it kept getting brighter. And here we saw a massive influx of new short liquidations coming in, all around 113,400. If we take 113,400, we see that at 113,400, we would actually be above the 0.786 level, which is just under 112,800. If this setup doesn't work out as planned, I'm not in a short here. I would really wait because of the liquidation cluster. You'll see in a moment what I do. I take it from the top, from the swing high to the swing low, and would look at 113,289 US dollars, or rather, now that I know the liquidation heat map, I would dare to take a short at 113,400 US dollars. I have to be honest, why am I taking this short position? Because of the liquidation I showed earlier on a monthly basis, which is below us at 107,000. And I would like to do what I did earlier and take a short position again to generate a bit of profit so that I can put that back into the long position. So this is what my plan would look like now, and that's how I'll open it as well. Please. If you copy this, please remember, there are no guarantees with what I'm doing here. I'm simply showing you how I approach my trades and what my plan is. Because this would now be my trade. Exactly like this. And maybe, depending, I'll have to see if I might even let it trade down to 107,000 US dollars and not close it at 108,000. But that's exactly how it would be, 113,400 US dollars. Meanwhile, my entry, my stop loss is set just before the 0.681. Of course, you would have to adjust that precisely to the lowest candle. And up here though, it looks good. And that's what my trade would look like. I'm not even using the 0.5 here, but simply taking the short opportunity. That's what it should be. Because now we're going to zoom out for a moment. Here we keep seeing smaller bearish structures, a small bullish structure, then another small bearish one. But we mustn't forget, overall we are actually in a bearish structure. Which might now look like this, that we go down like this. But, and this is what I like right now, we haven't gone any further down at this point. It could be that we have a brief recovery now and then maybe go further down. I just want to point out to you that because of the lower lows and a lower high, we have a possible bearish structure here and should really approach this pump with caution. That's it for Bitcoin for now. I'll save this quickly and then set the position accordingly. Ethereum, very, very interesting. We've managed it here. To get the entry into profit, I don't even know where all these positions are now. Right? This is the Bitcoin long. What does it have now? Almost $100 in realized, well, almost unrealized profit. Avant currently has a bit of a loss open. Then I also have Crow, which is at a slight loss. This is the Ethereum position, which is now about $130 in profit. And that was exactly the entry I presented here. But with this position, I'm still not entirely sure because we also shouldn't forget that we've now broken through our support to the downside here. Despite everything, I'm still in the bullish upperwood scenario, as you can see here, and I have my long position open accordingly. But here too I want to hedge myself because if my long is already in profit, I do have the option to risk a short. In this case, that would be around 4,296 to 4,406 US dollars to hedge myself here. I don't really have to take a loss here because if the price really starts to move over here, which would also align very well with this cluster here, this volume cluster, and maybe gets rejected here, I can quickly move my stop loss back to break even, but also set my stop loss to break even down here, and then I'm simply hedged with the position. Hedged. Even if I do end up taking a stop loss and the price only reacts downward at the 0.681 level, I still have the same opportunity to move my stop loss to break even much faster to secure my position. And if it does happen and we really do go further down, then at least I have a short position that brings me profits while my long position might get stopped out at break even. I hope you can follow me, yes? I do not always want to have just one position open because last time it worked so well that I simply had both long and short positions open at the same time and was able to realize profits on both sides. That is how it looks now. That means the long is active and the short is a setup for me. Let's take a look at the liquidation heat map here so we can see it again here. I have to make sure the video doesn't get too long, maybe around 15 minutes or so, we'll see. But we can see here that there's quite a bit between 4,200 and 4,300. 4,300 US dollars. The 0.5 Fibonacci, 4,296. That would almost be in this area here, 4,296. That would be the upper range. What do we have here? 1 week. Let's quickly switch to 3 days. Maybe we'll see a bit more. No, that's too early. Let's test the 2-week view. Okay, and the last cluster. I could imagine the 4,300 here, although we have another fair value gap here. This is going to be very interesting. I see this as a possible cluster for a rejection. If that doesn't happen, then I'd just take a small stop loss. But this one position is simply running in profit. Because what's very interesting is up here. This huge cluster at 4,600 US dollars, guys, that's massive. That's really good. That would be in this case somewhere. Where do we have the 4,600? That would actually be up here, yes, in this area. Maybe you could try a short there, although here again, we have the possibility for a new bullish scenario. I'll update you on that. At the moment, it looks like this. I'd have to take a look at the short position because what's also interesting is that we have this fair value gap. Pickup Luger will confirm it for me exactly. That's a concept indicator that we haven't yet picked up this consolidation here. That could really line up nicely so that we can say we have the 0.5, or actually I wouldn't even risk the 0.5 here, but probably the 0.618 entry as a possible short position, which I would then close down here again. Because we also must not forget, and please absolutely do not forget this, a scenario that nobody wants to hear, that nobody wants to see, but we have it here, it's still marked here. Since this pump, we've actually never reached the 0.5 Fibonacci again, and it could, I don't want to say will or should, but it could bring us down to 3,500 US dollars. We really shouldn't ignore that because there were also, by the way, large orders. Ethereum is currently being shorted, extremely shorted. I want to show you that again in a moment. But we simply have the big clusters all the way down to about 3,400 US dollars, where the whales have placed their orders. A massive amount, and I want to visualize that for you once again now. Let's go from 3,900 down to here, and we'll see in a moment just how much is lying here. That's almost 617 million US dollars waiting below us in this area, all collected here, wanting to be filled with long orders. That's already a lot, but now I want to show you something else. Who is currently trying at this very moment as we move up here? Let me just highlight what we're seeing here, this cluster. I have rarely seen such a massive amount of filled orders in the whale orders. I'll leave this open here again. By now, as far as we've gone here, they were filled here and they were worth 1.8 billion US dollars. That means this cluster that was waiting here at around 4,140 to 4,150 US dollars, you can see here that 1.79 billion US dollars in short orders have already been filled. And of course, that's a very strong selling volume, which for me could indicate once again that we might actually move up a bit further here before heading back down. That means you really have to be careful here when it comes to Ethereum. If we actually see another bearish scenario, let's just assume we get a bearish pattern that continues and maybe we hold our support at this long entry or perhaps revisit this price area here where this candle was. That would be the 0.5 Fibonacci entry and only then would we move back up. So that possibility exists and I want to factor it in as well in case we drop further so that I know where I would enter because many people aren't prepared if we fall now. and ask, okay, where do I get in then? For us, it's actually pretty easy because we simply say we have our high, that's our last low, where we then have our opportunity, 0.5 entry, 0.618, although the 0.618 here is more likely to be invalid, but we still have to see what happens later with the liquidation heat map. Then let's move on to the next open trade, Crow, which is really struggling here with its entry point and doesn't quite want to go above it. We'll see if the support will hold. As I said again yesterday, exactly at this cluster, I will open another long order at the lower end or somewhere in the middle here in order to pull my average entry price, which is currently in this area further down. And if I open here, then I'd have the advantage that if it hits the stop loss, it would only add a slightly higher loss than what I actually have overall. So that would still be an option for me, because if this doesn't hold, our next entry would only be at the 0.786 level due to the liquidations I've already discussed in other videos. Then we still have A, but I don't think there's anything left there. Link is still, as I showed before. It's doing well in profit with the 0.618 level. We just have to wait and see what happens next here. But overall, we're still in a bearish scenario, we shouldn't forget that. We're still making lower lows now and a lower high. This means if we include it like this, we would have the possibility of 0.5, 0.618, or maybe even a second move upwards. But we'd have to compare that again with the liquidation heat map. 22 to 23 US dollars. Let's take a look at that for Link. We'll do it live right now. I hope it's not too boring for you. Maybe leave me some feedback here in the comments. Does what I'm doing work for you? Are these detailed analyses okay for you, or am I just talking too much? If so, I'll keep it shorter in the future, but I want to show you how I approach things, how I plan my trades, or for example, where I, since you mentioned Link, have a very good entry really at the bottom right now thanks to the trading strategy. That's a perfect bottom entry, a sniper entry. And if it goes up to around 22 to 23 US dollars, whether I might take partial profits here and also move my stop loss to break even. As we saw on the 2-week chart, there's actually a cluster at 22 US dollars with a bit more room to the upside. Did we look at this a week ago? I'm not even sure. That's really, really interesting again because, right, exactly, this cluster could be very interesting. It goes up to 22.2 US dollars, but that wouldn't quite be here, meaning the upper part wouldn't be that interesting to realize, but rather here. With this 0.5 entry we have maybe a bit higher, 22.2. That would be this area here where we roughly get in, where I would then move my stop loss to break even or take out part of the profit. To see how things develop from there. This 0.5 entry could maybe, yes, exactly this 0.5, a bit above the 0.5, 22.2. Actually at the 0.5 entry, I don't think it will just stop there and then go down, but at the 0.5 entry, that's where I would realize part of the profits. Then we also have Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the same, it's in profit, but it's really struggling right now to actually continue this 0.5 entry in a valid way. Instead, it's showing a strong consolidation, just like Bitcoin is doing now, and unfortunately the pump wasn't as strong as what we've seen with Bitcoin. And with Ethereum, again, there's the possibility, due to the bearish price structure, that we're still continuing for a similar scenario. I'm in a long position there, but then with Bitcoin, let's go back in LTC and let's take a look. Where is the liquidation? Does it match with the 0.5 or 0.618 Fibonacci? No, for example, here it's at 108. US dollars, where would that be? That would be a bit further below. But let's take another look at the 2-week heat map to see if anything has changed here. So I can also see where I could realize my profits, at least partially. 108, a little above that. You can see here this cluster actually goes up to $110. That would be $110.50. Take a look at that, guys. This cluster goes up to 110.5 and look at where this bearish entry would be. If we take that as an entry now and open a short position here, 110.5, actually very, very interesting. That means I'll definitely set an alert here as well. I don't want to miss that. We'll go in. Sorry that I'm doing this live in the video for a moment, but I don't want to forget. What did we say? Bitcoin message, Bitcoin short entry. I don't want to forget to enter like I did with another trade because I was filming and editing the video. Doge, still stop loss. So unfortunately, that's what happened. On point, we shouldn't go down here and pick that up. What else do we have? 20.08. We'll go in on that again as well. Doge. Dogecoin in 2 weeks. Let's look at 1 month. There you can't see anything anymore. I saw that there was actually a lot of liquidity down there. If that's no longer there, I might reconsider this position. I think it was this one here, 0.2094. This was here, 0.2081. So roughly this area here would be possible for me if we go further down as a bottom formation because of the last liquidity we have here. But I think you can see that very clearly here as well. Let's take another look at this here. In the coin class, we go in exactly up to 3 months, and that's what's interesting. If Doge does crash, then I would really like to catch the bottom. And that would be this large cluster here. I think that was from last time. Now we have 0.2045. I think I went further down there. 0.2081. Okay, the entry is still valid, just so you can see that as well. Why I'm approaching it here, exactly this large cluster we have, and I would actually consider that as another one. Leave the entry valid and open. At the moment, I don't have anything for Solana. I wasn't quite sure because of the peculiarity of these positions and the liquidity. You could have traded it. I marked 2 entries, but I didn't actually take them, to be honest with you. The breakout back then worked well, but I was unsure each time. If we take this entry here, it would have fit nicely. And if we take the entry at 0.786, that's because we had a very long period of consolidation with the highs here. What I think was also very interesting, but not on this either, but in one of the last live streams together, we actually analyzed ENA USCT because someone from the community suggested it. But I didn't place a trade there either, even though ENA had an incredibly good entry point. For those who might have traded it, you couldn't have imagined getting such a nice wick at 0.681. Or actually, it's the 0.5 Fibonacci level. Such a beautiful wick right into it, as you can see here. And after that, the position goes into profit. That doesn't mean it will stay in profit now, I have to say that as well. But if you're currently in a long position and you feel you caught it well and it's going up, at this point you would already have the opportunity at the 0.5 or 0.681 level in this case to take partial profits from the position and set your stop loss to break even. You could do that a bit earlier too, but that would be one option here. For everyone who doesn't know this, be sure to check out my video, Learn Trading Step by Step to Pro Level. The trade works every time. An incredibly simple strategy. If you compare it with the liquidation heat map, you can really get a lot out of it. Other than that, I don't really have much more right now. Yesterday, I also tried an Astra trade, and that worked well too. The day before yesterday, it was actually here that I entered, but I didn't realize any profits, got stopped out at break even, and now Astra is pumping again. So unfortunately, I didn't cash out here, even though I had this long position, but it's better to take one trade less than one bad trade too many. That's really, really good. Otherwise, I think that's it for now. I don't want to drag this out any longer either. We're over 20 minutes or 20 minutes, depending on how much I have to cut out. And we'll see each other again next time. I hope you enjoyed the update. Leave a few likes, comment and subscribe if you haven't already.